They were a rather rowdy bunch, and they didn't tend to the rules, like, you know, no smoking and no drinking, getting plenty of sleep and all that stuff, and of course they didn't. And they came home crying one weekend because they lost the tournament. And so I was so mad they lost it. So I wrote a letter to the editor. And I didn't sign my name to it, of course. I published it anonymous, but they knew, they found out who it was, and they just castigated me. Because I said some nasty things.
So their success was very important to you.
I guess it was.
Wow.
Although I didn't really cheer too much. I mean, it's, you know, anyway, it was funny.
Okay.
Well, and they had a football field that I think was all dirt, and they had weeds on it, and the team had to come in before the games and pull the weeds. And they had, their uniforms were just, I mean, you know, very lax as far as protection is concerned.
No grass
No,
on the football field.
no. You can ask them.
Oh, yeah, those are pretty lax.
Maybe a water issue, or what do you think that
I
the
don't
reason?
know.
Probably.
Yeah.
An effort issue.
Okay. So there was baseball, but apparently it was the first time.
Oh.
Was that right?
1946.
That's not quite correct though, because they had baseball back in the 1907 one.
Oh,
It's got baseball in there?
Yeah.
God, how can we not remember that?
Just a short paragraph there at the
Yeah.
bottom.
No game schedule.
Okay.
Sounds like the football team was pretty good according to this.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Surprisingly.
Oh, no, never mind. They won their first victory in 4 years when they defeated Ephrata 6-0.
that's a heavy game.
Not bad. Not bad. Okay.
But I remember in the 07 there was actually a girls basketball team.
Is that,
There was no boys basketball though.
Wow. And you have that annual somewhere.
Yeah, it's at my house.
Okay.
There's no good place to put it in the school yet.
So Irene and Alice, tell me about this coach, Don Miller. He was the basketball coach. Was he a teacher?
I vaguely remember his name, but
I can't tell
you who he was.
Okay. Well, John Rood was on first string, so I'll have to
Talk to John.
talk to
Yeah.
John. All right. Well, let's keep this interview going here, Ben.
Alrighty. Do you like how Waterville has changed?
I don't know. I haven't been here long enough really to think about it, but it's due for, well, there's some things I don't like, yes. Putting all these trailer houses up for homes, and there's no zoning, so they can just plop a house anywhere that they want. And I hate those trailer homes. I know they're inexpensive. And I don't know if I really have any feeling about it. I don't like the trailer homes that they put up. I think they have some restrictions. And the fact that you can't have a rooster in town, that is ridiculous.
Now,
I know that.
They wake up the neighbors.
Now, Irene, just to tell our
So I
audience,
guess I don't like it.
Irene graduated in 1946 and then left Waterville
Left town, yeah.
and never moved back permanently.
Right.
You visited several times, but never moved back permanently. So that's a great question. So when you were a child growing up, a teenager, how common were farm animals in the town of Waterville?
Well, we had horses in Waterville. Wayne Scouts had their horses in Waterville. I think Ben Schneider, one, I don't know if it was your family or not, but they had horses. He lived up on the highway going to the fairgrounds. They lived in that house, and I can't remember Mrs. Snyder's name. And I don't know if that's the family you belong to or not. But I think the father's name was Ben. That might be your family. They had horses.
Yeah.
And let's see, who else did? The guy that owned the theater had a whole raft of horses right across from the theater. He had racehorses.
Mm-hmm.
Remember them?
Mm-hmm.
He had a whole bunch of racehorses. He kept them right there in town.
Let's stay on this topic, Ben. Let's find out how Waterville has changed
Well.
from the 40s till now. Alice, you were telling me just earlier today.
Well, we had stores, we had two automobile distributors, we had a furniture store, we had a dry goods store, we had a meat market, we had a pharmacy, we had a dentist, we had a physician. All of downtown was occupied, and we had the hardware store on the corner. I mean, we had everything that you needed. And part of that was because you didn't go to Wenatchee, you didn't have transportation. Most families had one car, and kids didn't drive till they were 45 years old.
No, we all waited to be 16, and the day we were 16, we went down and got a driver's license. And we didn't have to take driver's ed because we've been driving for 4 or 5 years.
No driver's ed.
But you didn't drive to Wenatchee every day.
No, we didn't drive to Wenatchee. We drove up the mountain and out to the ranch
Mhm.
and around, because there were no cops up here. And you forgot to mention the lawyers we had too in town. I think we had Hopewell and your dad, and didn't we have?
We had 4.
4 lawyers, okay, so we had legal.
Protection.
Yeah,
when we-
legal protection, we did.
And you could go and ask them a question, you didn't have to pay them $100 to go and sit down in their office. You could just ask them a question on the street, or just go in and say, I've got a problem, and sit down and tell me about it. And unless they were going to take your case, they didn't charge you for it. Now if you just go in and say hello, they charge you $100.
Now, was the dentist Mr. Fitzgerald, or was he in Wenatchee?
Fitzgerald was up here, but Winstanley we had 2 doctors too. We had Winstanley, or was he a dentist?
I think he was a dentist.
I think-
We had Dr. Ellis when we
Yeah.
were little people.
Right.
And he did home visits and everything. He delivered the babies and he did everything. He was a great doctor.
Now, was the North Central Washington Fair here in Waterville when you were growing up?
It wasn't called the North, what was it called? It wasn't the North Central Washington Fair, they called it something else.
There was a lot of history on that you could get from the fair people.
Yeah, I remember
It was-
reading about it at the museum.
And it was a potato
Yeah, it was the potato fair.
originally. Yeah, I don't know much about that. We didn't fair.
You didn't fair. No cotton candy, caramel apples.
I don't remember much.
I don't remember the potato fair, we didn't go.
Wait, no, that's way before.
That's way
That's
before.
when those old
Was
people-
the courthouse here in Waterville?
Yes.
Yeah, my dad helped build it.
It's always been in Waterville.
All right.
Okay, so the next question is, when did you leave Waterville and why?
1946, to seek my fortune. And I went to nurses training at Deaconess Hospital in Spokane, Washington. That took 3 years, and then I went to Whitworth. I saw you had a sign in your office at Whitworth College. Was part of the curriculum. We spent 9 months at Whitworth College and 2.5 years at Deaconess Hospital. And that was part of my plan to become independent.
Did you always want to leave Waterville?
Yes.
Was that common for students?
I don't know, Marion wanted to leave.
Yeah, my sister
Yeah.
did.
All 3 of us wanted to leave, Marion, Lois, and me. Well, there was nothing here for us. I mean, we had 13 girls on a class and 3 boys. I mean, come on.
So you couldn't find your husband here in Waterville?
Well, you could have. I mean, a lot of people did, but we didn't want to look.
Were there nurses here in Waterville? Could you have found a job here in Waterville?
Yeah, I could have when I finally came back. Mr. Wilson came over to the hospital. I didn't realize he was recruiting me to come out here to work, but he came to see me at I was working, and he asked me if I was thinking about coming back to Waterville and being a nurse here, and I said, well, no, I hadn't even thought about it. And so we talked about it. It was years later I realized he was offering me a job. I didn't know he was offering me a job.
Alright, so the next question is, do you still have close friends besides Alice who still live here?
In the cemetery. No, I don't know, I have none that. Well, they are, that's where they are, I go out and visit them.
What about, did you keep in contact with some of your classmates through the years?
Kept in, yeah, with Lois Rude, and she was the main one. Unfortunately, Marion and I drifted apart, we didn't keep in contact. But we had more fun together, I mean, well, anyway, I'm just trying to think. I have people down in Aranda that I kept in contact with. So friends that, you know, they were good friends. They're not in the cemetery. One is.
Who are those Rondo friends by chance?
Well, Mrs. Conley, F. Conley, I think everybody knew her. She was a fantastic person. She got to be 96. I was hoping she'd make it to 100, but she didn't. And her daughter lives in Federal Way, I guess it is. Anyway, see them once in a while. I see them when I come home.
Okay.
I still call this home, so I really didn't leave Waterville, I just physically.
Okay.
So the next question is, what was it like to move 4 times?
To move, how many times?
4.
Did I move 4 times?
I believe so. Is that correct?
Well, I was telling them you lived in North Carolina,
Oh, yes.
you lived in Kentucky,
Mhm.
you lived in New York, you lived in Chicago. So that's at least 4 times.
That is
You've
a lot
moved
of times.
several times.
I did move, didn't I?
What do you think about moving so much?
Evidently not much, because I don't even remember. Actually, I wanted to go to Duke to finish getting a degree. I went down there to get, I was going to hone my skills as an operating room nurse, and when I got down there, I decided it would be better to have a degree in nursing education than to have a certificate in operating room nursing, which is probably the best. It was a good decision, and so I got my degree